All right. So today I'll be talking to you about confidence. It's a word that we hear a lot, and in today's world, confidence is a must for success. All of us need to have the confidence to do our jobs correctly, to appear qualified in the interviews, and to pass the training required for said job. However, all of us can be understandably doubtful or insecure at times. Think of a time that you were scared, nervous, or unconfident. Think about what you were doing in that moment, but most importantly, think about what you did to change it. Some of us freeze and panic. Some escape that situation as quickly as possible, and some avoid it altogether. But when pushing through can be so beneficial, why? As humans, all of us constantly evaluate the risk versus reward potential of any given situation. And one sad truth is that often it's those which are less qualified, less knowledgeable about a situation, who are those who can quote unquote push through, who can give it a try. And that's because if you're not an expert at something, you might not have the knowledge to know that there's a lot that you don't know about what you're doing. And because insecurity and doubt stems from a lack of knowledge, that can be empowering. However, conversely, those of us who might be good at something might know that there's a lot that we don't know, and that creates doubt. And in this way, people who are less qualified can often end up being the ones doing things. This is called the Dunning-Kruger effect, and it's pretty common. In fact, I would say probably all of you can think of an example where you think you're really good at something, and your friends will completely disagree. They'll say you're bad. Or you think you're really bad at something, but your friends will keep encouraging you and say that you do well. But whatever side of that you're on, and let's face it, probably both of them, I'm just suggesting that you could be wrong, and you probably are wrong. And because it's not at all conducive to have that insecurity, I'd like all of you to reevaluate that thought that you have about yourself, about your ability, that line that you've drawn for yourself in insecurity. Are you really stuck within that line? Or do you know enough to change it, to cross it? Because chances are you do. And doing so is always worthwhile. This is a really bad photo, an old photo of Charles Lindbergh. He was the first person to fly alone across the Atlantic Ocean. And when he did this, it had really huge impacts for the world, how the world would work. And the society as a whole, we celebrated his achievement because of this. He had crossed a limit. He had broken a boundary. He had done something that no one else had done before. And so we marveled at this new feat. But just like the world had a boundary then, we all have boundaries, and we all give boundaries to ourselves. Think about it. A baby has very extreme limits. They might cry at the slightest movements or smallest noises. But as the baby becomes a toddler, those movements and noises might become, or will become, normal. The toddler will still, where's the toddler? Will still have struggles of its own. For example, falling unexpectedly might cause the toddler to cry. Yet, as the toddler becomes a child, that too becomes normal, becomes part of life. And the child will deal with separation from their parents as they go to school. Eventually, that becomes normal too. As teenagers, we are still learning about the world, getting used to the world around us. And by the end of being a teenager, we're all expected to know how to deal with the real world, to be independent, to work, to live effectively, and to find success. And that's a lot to ask. The world is a huge place, and there's a lot of things out there. But all of us do it, right? No. I'd be willing to bet, based on this survey, that all of you, no matter your age, have something which makes you nervous or unconfident. This is a survey I took of 119 people in my school, teachers and students, which says that 90.6 of people have something that they're afraid to do and to try. So this tells us really obviously two things. One, it's completely natural to have those insecurities about yourself. It's 100% human and it's nothing to be ashamed of. And two, 90.6% of people have something that holds them back from doing something or from being something. Why should we settle for that? Interestingly, a majority of people also said that the reason that they didn't try these things that they were scared of, it's not because of anyone else or societal pressure, it's because of themselves. So we know that it's completely natural and 100% human to feel that. I think that there's two situations in which people generally feel anxiety over something. The first is when change occurs. People hate change. Think of a time that you've changed schools, changed classes, changed work environments. How did it feel? We tend to think, what if I don't like it here? What if I don't fit in? What if I don't meet the group? What if I'm not like them? Instead of thinking, what if I really like it? What if I learn something? What if it's good for me? We think no when we should be thinking yes. The second situation which people limit themselves in, really, through insecurity, is when the stakes are raised. Think of a time where you're taking a test, and now it goes on your college transcript, so you have to stress and study constantly over what mark you get there. Think of a time where you have greater responsibilities now in your job, and you can't help but think, what if I mess up? Because that's what we tend to think. What if I mess up? What if I'm not good enough to do this? What if I fail? Instead of thinking, what if I excel? What if I push through? What if I learn something from this? What if I become a better person through this? Again, we think no when we should be thinking yes. And it's really easy to say that standing here in this nice air-conditioned room, but I can remember a time not too long ago where no matter how hard I wanted what I was working towards, no matter how hard I tried, with every step, was becoming a no person more than a yes person. I was trying to summit Kilimanjaro, and it was very dark and very hard to breathe and very cold. And eventually, I made it. It's a terrible picture, so I'm not going back and getting another one. But I did make it. And in the end, I can't help but think that I still failed, because it took someone else to force feed those positive thoughts, those yeses to me, in order for me to make it. And the struggle is that you have to do that for yourself. So I know that my failure was that I did not start my journey knowing with certainty that I would end it there right. And with every step I took, I was thinking, I can't do this, instead of I can. And so a year ago, I gave myself a challenge to expose myself to discomfort, to say yes to different things, to do things that I hadn't done before. And after learning so much, doing so much, and failing and learning from my mistakes, I would like to give that same challenge to all of you in the audience and all of you watching. Think of one thing even, one goal that you've had for a while, one thing that you've always wanted to do, and today, right now, take that first step towards doing it. Because that step is really simple. You just need to know with a certainty that whatever it is, you can do it. Because the knowledge, that confidence, that ability to ignore your insecurity is what will help you make it through. The only one stopping you is yourself. Thank you.